The storm didn't roll in quietly. It slammed into the neighborhood overnight like it had something personal against us. By the time my alarm went off at 5:30 a.m., the wind was already howling, pushing snow against the house hard enough that it sounded like someone dragging furniture across the siding. I lay there for a moment, staring at the ceiling, already tired. I hadn't even looked outside yet, but I knew this wasn't going to be a light dusting. This was the kind of snow that ruins your morning if you pretend it doesn't exist. I swung my legs out of bed, grabbed my phone, and checked the weather alert. 8 inches overnight, another 2 expected by mid-morning. Heavy, wet snow, the worst kind, the kind that turns driveways into frozen bricks if you wait too long. I work construction. If I don't leave early, I don't work. If I don't work, I don't get paid. The HOA doesn't cover my bills. Linda doesn't cover my bills. Snow doesn't care about bylaws. By 5:55 a.m., I was dressed, boots on, gloves pulled tight, breath already fogging the air as I opened the garage. The snowblower sat right where it always did. I rolled it out, turned the key, and after a short cough, the engine came to life, steady and controlled. At exactly 6:00 a.m., I started clearing my driveway. I didn't race, I didn't rev the engine, I didn't aim snow toward anyone's house. I followed the same careful path I had every winter for years. The sound wasn't loud, it was necessary, the kind of noise people accept when they live somewhere that gets buried every winter. Or so I thought. About 10 minutes in, I noticed movement through the falling snow, curtains shifting, porch lights flicking on, faces peeking through windows, not annoyed faces, curious ones. The kind of looks people give when they're waiting to see if someone else is going to complain so they don't have to. I finished, brushed off my truck, and pulled out without incident, no confrontation. No warning, no sign that anything was wrong that came later. When I got home that evening, the storm had finally passed. The neighborhood looked calm, quiet, almost peaceful. Fresh snowbanks lined the streets. Kids were already building half-collapsed snowmen. It almost made me forget how ugly people could get over rules. Almost, the bright red paper taped to my front door snapped me right back to reality. I didn't even pull it off at first. I just stared at it, already knowing what it was. HOA violation notices always looked the same, loud color, bold text, designed to make you feel like you've been caught doing something wrong. I peeled it off slowly and read it right there in the cold. Noise violation, unauthorized snow removal activity. Unauthorized. I read further. According to the notice, I had violated HOA quiet hours by operating mechanized equipment before 7:00 a.m. Fine was $150. It helpfully added that further violations could lead to escalated enforcement. No signature, just the HOA logo stamped at the bottom like a seal of judgment. I laughed, a short, humorless laugh that came out before I could stop it. Snow removal, unauthorized. I knew instantly who had done it. Linda. Linda had lived in the neighborhood longer than almost anyone else, and she made sure everyone knew it. She didn't work. She didn't have kids at home. She had time, and she used that time to monitor everyone else's lives like it was her job. When she became HOA president, things changed fast. Rules started appearing out of nowhere. Enforcement got aggressive. Fines got heavier. People stopped pushing back because it was easier to just pay and move on. I didn't tear the notice up. I didn't email anyone. I went inside, set it on the kitchen table, and poured myself a cup of coffee. Then I opened the drawer. The folder inside was thick, slightly bent at the corners, and full of documents most homeowners forget about the moment they close on a house. I didn't forget, because when I bought the place, the realtor had paused and said, "This part is important." The access road behind several HOA homes ran across a strip of my land. The HOA didn't own it. They never had. Decades ago, the original owner granted an easement, access only, conditional, limited. Most people treated it like community property. Legally, it wasn't. I flipped through the pages slowly, snow notice still sitting on the table like a dare. There it was, the easement agreement. I read it carefully, then again, then a third time. The HOA was allowed to use the road as long as that use remained reasonable and did not interfere with my lawful enjoyment of my property. Interfere, harassment, unreasonable restriction. By fining me for clearing my driveway so I could go to work, the HOA wasn't just being annoying. They were interfering, they were creating a hardship, and they had put it in writing. The next morning, I didn't even get a chance to enjoy my coffee at 8:30 a.m. sharp. There was a knock on my door. Not a polite knock, a firm one, the kind that assumes authority. I opened it to find Linda standing in my driveway with 2 other board members. Arms crossed, tight smiles, clipboards in hand. Linda pointed immediately at the snowblower, still parked near the garage. "You were warned," she said. "This community has quiet hours." I asked her calmly where snow removal was prohibited in the bylaws. She waved me off and said the board had discretion. When I mentioned work schedules and emergency conditions, she actually rolled her eyes and said, "People need to plan better." That was it. I told her, calmly and clearly, that the HOA easement access was suspended effective immediately due to harassment and unlawful interference. Her face changed instantly, shock, then anger, then fear. "You can't do that," she snapped. "I just did." I said and closed the door. The fallout was immediate. By noon, my phone was buzzing nonstop. Emails from the HOA demanding clarification, messages from neighbors asking what was happening. One guy texted me in all caps asking how he was supposed to get his delivery. That afternoon, the garbage truck stopped at the edge of my property, looked down the road, and turned around. The next morning, trash bins were still full. Amazon packages started showing delivery delayed. UPS drivers refused to enter the road. Then the city snowplow arrived. It cleared the main street, rolled toward the access road, reached my property line, and stopped. The driver got out, checked his map, shrugged, and turned around. Half the neighborhood didn't get plowed. That's when panic set in. Linda called me 6 times before noon. Voicemails went from angry to desperate. She accused me of abusing power, then she begged me to reconsider, then she threatened legal action. I didn't answer. Instead, I hired a lawyer, a good one. He read everything, nodded slowly, and said, "They handed this to you." The HOA lawyer called mine the same day. No attitude, no threats, just urgency. They wanted the easement restored immediately. My lawyer sent back a simple list of conditions, the fine withdrawn, the snowblower restriction removed, a written apology, and a permanent clause stating the HOA had no authority over my driveway or equipment. The HOA tried to stall, then someone slipped. A resident fell on an unplowed sidewalk and threatened to sue the HOA. Another complained that emergency access was compromised. A third pointed out that blocking a legal easement dispute during winter could expose the HOA to massive liability. An emergency board meeting was called. Linda tried to paint me as unreasonable. That lasted about 5 minutes once the lawyers started talking. By the end of the week, the fine was gone. The rule disappeared from the guidelines. Linda resigned for personal reasons. A new easement agreement was signed, one that stripped the HOA of any authority over my property. Now every winter morning at exactly 6:00 a.m., I fire up my snowblower. No notices, no fines, no Linda, and the entire neighborhood knows what happens when an HOA forgets who actually owns the land.